Hello, this is astrologer coach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to talk about the upcoming new moon in Virgo, which will be exact on September 6th at 8:52 p.m. New York time, and nice and early in the morning at 1:52 a.m. London time, already the next day on September 7th. Now, the moon aligns with the sun in 14.5 degrees of Virgo, and that begins the new moon cycle. Now, as best as you can with every new moon cycle, get really quiet at the time of the new moon and see if you're getting any new messages or ideas. Align yourself with the new energy. Get really clear what it is that you want for the next 28 days. And if you want to fold some of these messages and ideas and intuitions into your new moon intentions, then that's a great idea at the time of the new moon. I will talk about this process later in the forecast and also give you the most potent and the best time to set your intentions. So stay tuned for that. And this new moon has a lot of aspects to other planets in this new moon chart, so feel free to use the timestamps below this video to jump to different parts of the video. This new moon has an abundance of planets in earth and air signs. The moon, the sun, and Mars will be in Virgo, Pluto will be in Capricorn, and Uranus will be in Taurus. These are all earth signs. And Mercury and Venus will be in Libra, Saturn and Jupiter will be in Aquarius, and the North Node in Gemini. These are all air signs. So the element of Earth deals with the physical reality of things and usually requires a practical approach. The air element deals with the mental level. Usually we have the ability there to look at what's ideal and how we might create it through connection with other people. So this means that our focus will be on those things for the next 4 weeks, both on an individual and a collective level. Now, I will talk more about this in connection with the planetary aspects of this new moon chart. But first, let's just focus in on the Virgo energy of this new moon and see what that's all about. So Virgo provides an opportunity to learn about being of service and what it might mean to strengthen our focus on improving our daily routines, getting organized, for example, and taking care of health matters. Now, a great way to step into the higher vibration of Virgo is to recognize as best as you can that humility, self-improvement, and being of service brings us closer to our inner divinity and our soul's path. So what you can ask yourself with this new moon, how could I as a spirit being operate more efficiently in the physical world? And might tweaking my daily routines help me function better in the physical world? Might it also support me in being of service? And then what benefits might I reap if I could better discern between what's essential and what's redundant? So for more details about the Virgo energy and access to all the coaching questions from this video in written form, feel free to read my article about the new moon in Virgo. And if you're not yet a member of my online community and would like to access all the new moon questions from this video in writing and the full moon videos as well every month and the articles, feel free to check out the various levels of membership that are available on my website at astrologercoach.com. And if you're already a member, check your membership portal by signing into my account, and you will find all my posts inside the My Content tab. Now, the new moon questions are going to be available via the New Moon in Virgo article by September 3rd, the very latest, probably before then already. All right, so look out for that. I will also send out an email as well if you're a member already. Now, please keep in mind that it is best to start working with the coaching questions after the new moon has already become exact. So after September 6th, or if you live in Europe, September 7th. Now, back to the new moon chart. Since the new moon in Virgo trines Uranus in Taurus, we can ask ourselves with this new moon, how might new, fresh, and practical ideas create progress in my daily routines? And where might I find something unexpected that changed my relationship to health and well-being? And again, remember with these questions, you don't have to answer them directly. You just need to sort of sit with these questions and allow yourself to have sort of like an intuitive knowing show up around these questions. You can journal with them, you can meditate with them, or just allow the questions to be in your consciousness as you're going through this lunar cycle. Now, we're able to better connect to anything that requires attention to detail over the next 4 weeks. And we might also perhaps implement revolutionary health routines or other systems in our day-to-day life that support our values and make life more enjoyable. So what might that look like for you? Really look to see in your own life, where can you implement some revolutionary health routines or other systems in your day-to-day life, day-to-day work, for example? Anything that's in alignment with what works for you, what's important to you, what you value. What might that look like for you? Now, the new moon also makes a wide conjunction with Mars in Virgo. And this might stir up impatience and frustration when things don't line up perfectly right away. And should this show up for you in the next 4 weeks, then just ask yourself, what might shift if I trusted the timing of everything that is currently unfolding? And what if acceptance of what is was the key to manifesting my goals? And what if the same was true of taking care of my daily routines or of my health routines? Now, this Moon, Sun, Mars combo also makes an opposition to Neptune in Pisces, and also a trine to Pluto in Capricorn. So the opposition to Neptune invites us to find a balance between the head and the heart. Neptune in Pisces is connected to the heart completely and our spiritual connection to our higher self. And that Sun, Moon, Mars conjunction is in Virgo is connected to the head, or sort of like discerning what works, what doesn't work for us, what's practical, what's healthy. And because of this opposition to Neptune, it could also bring up feelings of being ungrounded, overwhelmed, or tired at times. So ask yourself, am I feeling overwhelmed? Do I get easily distracted? Do I zone out right now? And just ask those questions, as you're moving through this lunar cycle. And if the answer to any of those questions is yes, then as best as you can, center yourself in the here and now. Remember, the present moment is always the most powerful moment to be in, because that's all there is, really. Everything else is just the mind playing games with us. But the present moment is powerful. So when we can really get centered in the here and now, and when we can allow ourselves to be present and listen to what's inside of us, beyond the mind, we can really get more connected to our heart, to our higher self, and we can also trust more fully our intuitive self, which is very, very important and very powerful right now. So ask yourself, could I simply tune in for a moment and see if I need to take a break, or at least just slow down just a little bit? And could I be 5% more compassionate and kind to myself and others? Now, the trine to Pluto, that supports clarity around what fears, behaviors, or destructive patterns have been holding us back. So because it's a trine, there is an opportunity for clarity, right? Because Pluto can hold us in a very dark place sometimes. It can hold us in a place of fear, in a place of destruction. It can hold us in a place of control and wanting to be powerful or disempower ourselves or others. So with this trine to Virgo, we can finally have a little bit more of clarity. What are our behaviors? What are these destructive patterns? We can see it more clearly, right? What are these fears? So ask yourself, how could my discernment and practical decision-making ability help me manifest my long-term goals? And what if simplifying my life supported a deeper, more passionate and authentic connection to my long-term goals? and what I want to do out there in the world. Now, Mars also quincunxes Jupiter in Aquarius. That's a very tight orb, and they're pretty much in the same degree, just in different signs. And this quincunx calls for some inner adjustments, and we're feeling a little uncomfortable. So we're invited to develop some inner awareness around two very different urges that we have. On the one hand, there's a desire to engage in our daily routines, observing what works and what doesn't work, and maybe taking some actions in our daily routines, making practical improvements accordingly to what we see. And on the other hand, we need to explore our expectations and assumptions around social connections and networks and our vision for the future. And that's connected to Jupiter in Aquarius. So ask yourself here with this quincunx, am I being too impulsive or impatient right now? Just check. It's not about judgment. It's not about making yourself wrong for anything. This is really just check with yourself. Is this something that's occurring? Give yourself the opportunity for awareness around this. Am I being too restless? Just check. And what might it look like if I focused my energies towards being of service? And this is something we can always do in the next 4 weeks. If there's something that feels uncomfortable, just redirect your energies towards being of service. If you can do that, then the other stuff won't feel as aggravating inside of you. Now, some other questions you can ask with this quincunx is, am I overanalyzing things? Mars in Virgo, right? Could be a tendency to overanalyze things. Could I allow for experimentation? Could I allow for myself to just experiment and see, well, what might happen here if I do this or if I look at this? Is doing more necessarily better? How might doing too much impact my well-being? Now, we're dealing here with Mars and Jupiter, both planets who Mars likes to go for it, Jupiter likes to expand. So these two planets, in aspect to each other, there might be a tendency maybe that we want to do too much. And so just check, how does doing too much impact my well-being? And is that necessarily better to do more? Now, last but not least, the new moon also squares the current moon nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius, which means that we are collectively at a crossroad right now. So we're being asked here to take a 90-degree turn to gain a new perspective, to explore different avenues, leading us to different outcomes, especially in regards to our health routines and daily well-being. So ask yourself, what beliefs are holding me back from living a healthy life? And what do I need to implement in my daily routines so I can be healthy and happy? Could I be open to shifting my perceptions? And where have I made assumptions or placed blame? And again, this is not to make yourself wrong. Asking these questions is not to criticize or judge yourself in any way, or anybody else for that matter. These questions are really just there to create awareness and alignment with the energies that are currently at play. So really use them in that fashion so that you really can expand from a heart place in a wholehearted kind of a way, and that you can evolve with the current energies rather than fight against them. Now, some other questions you can ask here is, what if I combined a positive attitude towards experimentation with the ability to remain curious? And what if I didn't have all the answers? And that's very powerful, because sometimes we get anxious when we don't have all the answers. However, if we can just give ourselves permission to be okay with that, to not have all the answers. So what? So what? I don't know everything. Is that bad? Maybe the mind is kind of overrated anyways in accumulating all these answers that it accumulates, because the mind really wants to problem solve all the time. So So sometimes we need to just relax and allow the mind to take a break from the problem solving and to just go, it's okay. It's okay if I don't have all the answers. Now notice when your busy mind distracts you from being discerning. And notice when your beliefs or assumptions take you on a detour away from improving your daily routines. And also notice when being right becomes more important than being discerning or being of service. Remember, it comes back to the Virgo energy, always comes back to discernment and being of service. Everything else is a very low, dense vibration of the Virgo energy. Now, when you notice any of the above happening, if you notice, needing to be right rather than being of service or being discerning, if you notice that your beliefs or assumptions take you away from improving your daily routines, if you notice that your mind is distracting you from being discerning, if you notice any of those things, ask yourself, might a moment of silence bring me back to what works in my daily routines? And might a moment of silence allow me to make better choices for myself? And might a moment of silence support me in being discerning instead of judgmental? Now, we very often think that silence is a sign of, that nothing's moving forward or things are not happening. But silence can be so powerful. And I want you to maybe experiment with silence over the next 4 weeks. Now, Mercury, which is the ruler of Virgo, enters its pre-shadow phase only 5 hours before the new moon becomes exact on September 6th. And this means that for most of this lunation, so for the next 4 weeks, we are traveling through territory that will be of significance even past this moon phase, because we need to revisit certain things during the Mercury retrograde phase, which is from September 27th until October 18th. Now, to find out more how you can best use Mercury's pre-shadow phase to your own advantage, please watch Mercury's pre-shadow phase September 2021 to see how this relates to your own birth chart. To get more information about this particular webinar, or to purchase it, click on the link below this video. And please keep in mind it's only available until September 17th. So make sure that you watch it before then, or that you purchase it before then. If you are a current star member, you already received an MP4 video recording of this webinar, so please check your email. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. Now, Mercury, which is currently in Libra, makes an opposition to Chiron in Aries and forms a grand air trine with Saturn in Aquarius and the North Node in Gemini. Woo! Lots going on with Mercury again. So let's unpack that. Mercury's opposition to Chiron indicates that we need to find a balance between two very different energies. On the one hand, there's Chiron in Aries, which means we need to take a compassionate approach towards our persona, our personal goals, what we identify with. And on the other hand, Mercury in Libra, there we need to communicate and collaborate with other people in a harmonious way, in a way that creates something more, something that's just and peaceful. So ask yourself, how might we be able to support each other on our individual healing journeys? And what if taking a compassionate approach towards myself and my goals actually made for more harmonious conversations with others? And could I allow others to share something with me that might contribute to a more holistic exploration of my persona? And how about vice versa? Could I share something with others that might contribute to a more holistic exploration of someone else's persona, identity, or personal goals? So I know this is kind of a lot. So feel free to really sit with these questions or journal on them. Again, these questions are available via the New Moon in Virgo article. So if you want to look at them in writing, feel free to go to my website to check out that that article. Now, the grand air trine that is also part of this new moon chart gives us the opportunity to raise our mental vibrations and making it easier to connect with others while staying open-minded, and also helping us stay committed to long-term partnerships or friendships. So collaboration comes more easily with this trine, as long as we remember to be aware and release any dogmatic or intolerant conditioning from the past. And that's very important. If we become dogmatic and intolerant, then the collaborations and the connections with other people are not going to flow. But if we can really notice anything that sort of like keeps us stuck in the past, then we can really move forward in our collaborations with others and just have a really beautiful connection with other people. So ask yourself, what collaborations will best serve me over the next 4 weeks? And where can I build mutual respect with other people? And who might welcome a dialogue that is open-minded and with the potential for long-term sustainability? Who might welcome a dialogue like that? Now, Venus in Libra makes some important aspects as well. So let's talk a little bit about Venus too. So Venus squares Pluto in Capricorn and trines Jupiter in Aquarius. So the square to Pluto indicates that we really want to collaborate with others and play nice, but we also feel a deep urge to be authentic and truthful about what we want to build and focus on long term in terms of who we want to be out there in the world. So we may have to make some changes or adjustments, either to something in connection to our, aspirations and long-term goals, or perhaps also to some of our relationships. So see what that might be for you. And as best as you can, be open to receiving feedback from others while remaining connected to what empowers you from within. If you feel pressured into doing something, or you feel a power struggle building up at some point, get as centered and as grounded as you're able to, and then use your creativity to craft win-win situations. And just remember, win-win situations, they need to come from the heart. You need to stay open-hearted and open-minded in order to create win-win situations. Now, if you encounter power struggles over the next 4 weeks after the new moon becomes exact, ask yourself, what if this were a major growth opportunity in disguise? And this is a really powerful question to ask, because often when we encounter power struggles, we tend to go either into like a victim place, or we get very angry, or we get kind of vindictive in some way, or we just retreat and we get very shut down. Whatever version that might be for you, if you can just really remind yourself to ask this question, what if this were a major growth opportunity in disguise? Not negating what you're feeling, right? Not saying like, okay, what I'm feeling is not okay, because of course it is. Whatever you're feeling is always okay, because it has to be, because it's there, it's happening. So we always want to be gentle and kind with our feeling body and embrace the feelings, but at the same time also guide yourself or direct yourself in the direction of, what is the growth opportunity here with this, after you've let yourself feel what you're feeling. Now, could I let go of wanting to control another person's experience so I can feel better about myself? Sometimes when we get into power struggles, we want to either control other people's experiences, or we allow other people to control our experience. So could I let go of wanting to be controlled by another person? And I know this sounds kind of silly, this question, because of course, nobody really thinks that they want to be controlled. Nobody really thinks that that's something that they desire. But sometimes it's unconscious. There's an unconscious desire to be controlled, because then we don't have to take responsibility. Then somebody else takes responsibility. So if you have a feeling of power struggle, see if these two questions resonate and just ask them. Don't even try to understand the questions necessarily. Just ask them and just see what shows up. Just see what intuitively comes to mind. Now, when fears or struggles arise, could I trust in the power of love and an open heart, or surrendering to a higher power. And this can be very powerful too, because when we're in the midst of a struggle, a power struggle, or tremendous fear, we tend to, the ego or the conditioned self tends to want to take charge and wants to make sure that we're safe, that we're okay, that nothing can happen to us. But when we're actually do exactly the opposite, if we just surrender, and if we just open our heart and go, okay, this is something I'm going to give over right now. I'm not going to do anything at all. I'm just going to give it over, right? In that moment, that's when the energy can actually subside and just move through us in a very peaceful, calm way. Or if it's not peaceful or calm, it will just move through, and then it will create peaceful and calm. So remember, fear is not truth. It is a feeling based on memory or on worst case scenarios, which, by the way, worst case scenarios that we think about are speculations about a possible future, not the truth, not what actually will happen. It's a possible future. So we don't know if it's actually going to happen or not. So to sum it all up for this new moon, the message of this new moon is loud and clear. It spotlights how less can be more. So when we think about clutter, for example, when we think about busyness in our lives, when we think about stress in our lives, look to see how less can be more and how this translates into a more satisfying and meaningful life long term. When we simplify our lives, we can really, even if we just fantasize about it, or even if we can't make it reality yet, but we just fantasize about simplifying our lives, we can really feel already how long-term that might be such a beautiful thing to experience, and it might be such a relief. So just experiment with that and see what that feels like for you. And then also, of course, with this new moon, be mindful, dedicate yourself to what's important with compassion in your heart. Remember that perfection is not a goal, it is a journey. There's no such thing as perfection, and yet everything is perfection, and that's kind of the oxymoron in life. And then ask yourself, if I favored progress over perfection, what then? And how could I release old dogmas, old ways of looking at things? What if I discerned what's truly important to me and focused there for my improvements? And how do I communicate my thoughts and findings to others? So as we're moving through, looking to see how we can improve things for ourselves health-wise, or in a day-to-day work, or simplify things or make things better for ourselves, how can we communicate all of those things that we have learned possibly, or that we have discovered? How can we communicate that with other people? How can we support each other in our findings? Because that's very powerful if we can support each other in our findings. And not everything will work for everybody, obviously. We don't want to force other people to take on whatever findings we've made, but just share it and see what sticks. If another person wants to experiment with something that you found powerful and helpful for yourself, great. And if they don't want to experiment with it, if they don't find it valuable, then okay, fine. Then maybe something else might be. But we still want to share, right? Share without being attached to the outcome of what that means, that we share it. Now, when life feels uncomfortable, simplify and be patient. And then remember, we are changing and growing in ways right now that we can't comprehend. We cannot comprehend what's to come. We don't even know how it's going to unfold yet. So that, of course, feels a little uncomfortable. And so when we feel uncomfortable, if we can just simplify and be really patient with the process, because it's just a process. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means it's a process. And we will get there. So feel free to also check out my new interview series, How to Deal with Uncertainty and Change, where I discuss a holistic approach to our current life's challenges with all kinds of wonderful practitioners and teachers. And you can get free access to this series on my website or my YouTube channel at astrologercoach.com or my YouTube channel, AstrologerCoach. And, feel free to watch these interviews because you might get some information there, some nugget there that might support you personally. Maybe not everything, but there might be certain things there that might feel like, oh yeah, that's something I could do. Or, oh, I've never looked at it in that way and this could really help me moving forward. Now, if you do have an ascendant or any personal planets in 12 to 17 degrees of Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, or Sagittarius, then this new moon is definitely going to impact you more than other people. However, even if you don't have personal planets or points in those degrees and signs, take a look at your natal chart, your birth chart. Where does 14.5 degrees of Virgo land in your birth chart? Because that house placement of the new moon will indicate which area of your life is most ready for a new beginning for the next 28 days. Now, you can also check out my 30-minute class on how to read your birth chart. You can get free access via my homepage to that class at astrologercoach.com. You just scroll down on the homepage until you see a window that says free class and you click there. And there's also another free class that's available right now, which is my introduction to soul-based astrology. So feel free to take advantage of that. I'm not sure how much longer that will be available for free. So right now it is. So feel free to also go to my soul-based astrology courses tab on my website, and you can click there on Intro for Soul-Based Astrology. I will also have links for both of those things below the video as well. So just if you can't find it on my website. Now, before we talk about new moon intentions, let me just say we will talk about the fall equinox, which is exact on September 22nd, and the upcoming Pluto and Saturn station retrograde phases in relationship to our own birth charts in my next forecasting forum on September 17th. This webinar will be in particular of interest to anyone who has an ascendant or sun sign in Libra, Scorpio, Capricorn, or Aquarius, and also to those of you who have a strong Pluto or a strong Saturn placement in your natal chart. Now, feel free to join us live or register to get the MP4 video presentation of the live event if the date and time doesn't work for you. And if you're not yet a star member of my online community, feel free to join us by registering for this month only. And to do so, you can just click on the link below this video. I'll have something there for you, so you can just register right away. There's also an early bird special that will be available until September 14th at midnight, New York time. So take advantage of that if you're only joining for this month. That's always a great option. You can save some money. And last but definitely not least, let's talk about the intentions for this new moon. The new moon is also the best time to set some powerful intentions for this month's moon cycle. Intentions are best done soon after the new moon becomes exact, and definitely not during moonward, of course, phase. So this month, the best and most potent time to set intentions would be any time between 8:52 p.m. on September 6th. That's when the new moon becomes exact. And 3:24 p.m. on September 7th. And then again from 11:20 p.m. on September 7th until 8:52 p.m. on September 8th. Now, all of those times that I just mentioned are in the New York time zone, East Coast time in the US. Now, if you live in a different time zone than that, I recommend that you join my Facebook fan page or follow me on Twitter, because I will be posting reminders on September 6th, 7th, and 8th during the time when you can set intentions and when it's the most potent time to do so. So when you see those reminders pop up, just look to see when they were posted and then just, set your intentions at that point. Now, if you need more information about how to set your intentions, if you've never done this before, click on the link below this video or go to my website. There's an article about setting intentions on my blog. But again, there's a link below this video too, so feel free to just click there. And if you want to sign up for my free monthly newsletter, that's possible. You can do that on my homepage at astrologercoach.com. You will receive special offers, the new moon videos, announcements that I'm making about webinars or courses or retreats that I'm doing. So if that's something of interest to you, feel free to join my mailing list there. And if you have any general questions about the new moon or general questions about astrology or anything that I offer on my website, feel free to reach out to info@astrologercoach.com. Personal questions, I'm going to ask you to book a reading with me via my website, because that would require that I pull up your birth chart. Or any questions connected to what's coming up within the next 30 to 40 days, feel free to just join my next monthly forecasting forum on September 17th. Again, we'll focus on the upcoming fall equinox, which is the sun moving into Libra, and Pluto and Saturn station phases in Capricorn and Aquarius. So my members will see me in about 2 weeks around the time of the full moon, so we can look at how far we've come since setting our new moon intentions. And everyone else is going to see me in 4 weeks for the next new moon. Thanks so much for watching. And stay wholehearted, focus on well-being and your inner peace. And if you need support in any way, feel free to reach out. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.